Hey everyone, welcome back to Tip of the Week. In this week's video, we're going to learn how to add some firework flare onto any image using a blend mode and some layers inside ON1 Photo RAW 2020. So now I'm inside ON1 Photo RAW 2020, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the images that I want to take into the edit module. Now for this composite, we're just going to grab 4 images here. We're going to grab our base photograph, and then we have these 3 other firework images that we're going to play with. To go into the edit module, we're going to make sure that we have this base layer selected first. When we select this first, that's going to set the canvas size to the size of this image, rather than the size of these other firework images. So I'll make sure I have base selected first, then I'll hold down Shift, and I'll just select these other photographs. Now that I have these selected, I'm going to head over and click on Layers. This is going to take these 4 different layers into the edit module, where I can start creating this firework composite. Now that we have these different layers in here, I'm going to hide the top 3 real quick. So now we just have our base photograph. Over in our layers, I'm going to turn on this firework 1. And I'll just head up to my top tool modifier bar, and I'm just going to scale this down to about 25 or so, just like that. Then I'm going to head up and I'm going to rotate this so that it's nice and straight. Then I'll just drag this layer up, kind of near the top of my image here, and then I'm going to head over to my layers pane again. Inside of my layers, I'm going to head down to this gear icon right here. I'm going to select it, and this is going to open up all of the blending options for this layer. I'm going to head down and select Screen. Now the screen blend mode is great for when you want to remove dark areas from the background of images. Now you can see it's already working to remove some of that darkness, but the dark areas on this firework image aren't as dark as the areas on the base layer. So we must go into the Develop tab and start modifying it to remove some of that other dark from this firework image. So let's head down here, and to add in some dark tones to the shot, we're just going to pull up on the contrast. And you can see already it's removing all of that fade from our shot. It's just darkening that area up, making it less bright than the base layer. Then I'll head down to my blacks down here, and I'll just make sure they're nice and dark as well, so that we don't see any of that background from this fireworks layer. Then I'm going to head up to my whites real quick, and I'm just going to pull up on my whites just a hair to make the lights in the fireworks pop here. So I think that looks pretty good for our first firework. Now let's just add 2 more onto here, and then we can stylize our image. So I'm going to head back over to my layers pane, and I'm going to enable that firework 2 layer. And again, it's really large, so we just have to play with it a little bit. I'm going to make sure that firework 2 layer is enabled and selected. Then I'll head up and I'll scale it down again until it fits the size of the other firework. Maybe about right there. Then we'll do the same thing with the blend mode. We'll head over to our layers pane, we'll access our blending options, and then we'll choose Screen. And depending on the firework image that you're using, you won't have to modify your tone and color too much. But with this one, I'm just going to pull up on the contrast again to remove any of the background. I'll pull back on the blacks, and then I'll add in a little bit of that white again. And you can see if we turn off this firework layer and this top firework layer, it's removed all of that black background just by using that screen blend mode. So now we'll do the same thing with this firework 3 layer, our last firework layer. We'll click it to enable it, we'll make sure it's selected, and then we'll just scale it down quite a bit. Maybe about there. Then I'll just drag this up and position it to the left here. I'll head back over to my layers pane, we'll access our blending options, and we'll choose Screen. Now we'll make sure that we don't have any of that black background, so we'll pull up on the contrast slider. We'll pull back on our black slider a little bit, and we'll add in a little bit of white, just a hair, just like that. But I can see that this trail of light right here is actually covering this building, which wouldn't be there if they were firing off fireworks behind it. So what we're going to do is we're going to merge these 3 firework layers together without actually merging it with our base image. So in my layers pane, I'm going to disable this base layer so that it's hidden, and then I'm going to right click any of these firework layers, and I'm going to choose merge visible. That's going to merge those visible layers together, but leave this base layer alone. So I'll just head back to my base layer and I'll click it to enable it. And then we'll use our blending options for this firework layer. And we'll head down and choose screen. Now I'm just going to zoom in. I'm going to hit B on my keyboard, and I'm going to make sure that I'm accessing the masking options for that firework layer. That way I know I'm masking away this firework layer and not any effect or filter. Then I'll just head down to this building area, and I want to paint this light trail away from the top of this building. But first I'm going to make sure my feathering is at 0. That way I don't have any soft edges, and it removes all of the light trail with a hard brush edge. Then I'll just make sure I have my mode set to paint out, and I'll just come in here and remove some of the firework. Just like that. So now we have that firework display coming out from the back of that building, and it looks nice and natural. Now we can stylize our photograph a bit by merging these layers together. So we'll head to the right side of our screen again, we'll right click, and we'll choose New Stamped Layer. This is going to duplicate those 2 bottom layers, merge them together, and create one cohesive stamped layer. I'm just going to double click this and rename it Final, so we know that this is the final image. Then I'm going to head into my Effects tab here, I'm going to add a filter, and I'm going to add the Sunshine filter. The Sunshine filter is going to darken the darker areas and brighten the brighter areas in the shot, really focusing the viewer's attention on all of the light in the shot here. Then we'll just add one more filter, and we'll add the Color Enhancer filter. With the Color Enhancer filter, I'm just going to head to my Purity slider here, and I'm going to purify my shadows a bit. That's just going to remove some of the brighter colors from those shadow areas on my image. Then I'm going to head up to my color, and I'm just going to increase the saturation a bit. That's just going to brighten up the colors and make them pop out of the frame a bit more. So now let's head up to our layers here, and I'm going to turn off this Firework 1 layer. And now if I turn off our final layer, we started with this image, and now we have this photograph. So a really easy way to incorporate some firework, flair, and fun onto your photograph simply by using a blend mode and some layers. So I'm just going to head down and I'll select Done, and that will save this photograph. Now I have that composite image right here. So I'm just going to head over to my catalog folders here. I'm going to go to my landscape folder, I'll right click, I'll select Add Subfolder, and then I'll add Fireworks. Now I'll just drag this firework photo over to that Fireworks catalog folder. And if I select that folder, I have my fireworks photo here. And because this folder is published to ON1 360, I can view and modify it from any of my computers and devices. So now if I'm using ON1 Photo Mobile from my iPhone, I can go into my ON1 360 tab. I can find my Dylan's computer. I can go into my catalog folder landscape. I'll scroll all the way down to my fireworks folder here. And now I can view this image. And if I want to share it to my social media really quickly, I'll just select this share button. I'll click Share To. And now I can text this photo, or I can share it to any of my favorite apps or social media.